Hello, my name is Sophia Bridge, and I am the author of Freedom from the Unconscious, the Spiritual Structure of the World, and the Path to Return to the Source of Creation. And today I want to talk about the astrological birth chart and its use as a tool in the transformation process and the expansion of consciousness. And I want to talk about this because it's really very important. I think it's one of the essential tools or a very critical tool, in this process that can be used. Um, Historically, maybe from a religious perspective, astrology was really frowned upon. And I would say partly, in generally, you could say maybe that was because trying to avoid an over reliance on um, on it as, oh, this is going to happen to me, as a predictive tool, as if there was nothing you could do about it. And I think it's a tool to give you a guide, to help you focus your energy um, in this lifetime in the areas that need to be addressed, that are most critical to address, as far as the removal of negativity, and as well as it can also tell you that your birth chart can also tell you, where you have both negative karma and where you have positive karma. So it'll tell you, give you a feel or idea of blessings, and maybe why you're receiving them, as well as why you still have challenges in certain areas, and what areas are those. And I think when most people do the chart, after they do it, I think they intuitively sort of knew, just from, or also from their life experience, knew probably what the chart tells them that this is their area they need to work on. But it definitely, by having it in a tool that's outside of yourself, and and your own life experience, that you're like, oh wow, well, I always thought I needed to fix that, or that was, or I really don't want to do that. 9 times out of 10 is a thing you really don't want to do, or you don't want to change about yourself, and that's what exactly needs to be changed, in this lifetime. So, or you need to work on. So I think that is really important to understand about the chart. It's not a predictive tool where you say, oh, this is going to happen to me, and it's going to happen to me in this year, or based on the planets, this is, as like a horoscope. It's not used for that purpose in this process, but it is a very important tool that I'm not really sure, honestly, how you could go through this process without it. I have found that doing my own, as well as my son, and my parents and my sister and good friends, and the people that are having major impact in my life, by doing theirs and seeing how their areas of transformation align with my areas of transformation, and it gives me a really good insight into, I guess, the areas that I'm still working on in myself, and as well as the areas that they're still working on themselves, and how each other, even through the conflict, that we are helping each other deal with these issues. And so I think it really gives you insight into the people that are coming into your life, as well as who can be leaving as well, and I personally have learned so much from using this tool, with that I just don't know how else I would have gotten this type of information. And this is also how I mentioned before, how sometimes you meet people who are very similar to you in some ways in the interior construction, but though they chose kind of a different path, because they're not exactly the same, and maybe chose a path that was exactly opposite of you, that they didn't do what you did because they feared the negative repercussions of that path, and then you didn't do what they did, like I didn't do what they did, because I feared the repercussions of the path they chose. And and the issue is life is filled with challenges regardless of which path you chose, and in the end we both have to come into balance. So and it is through this chart that I realized that spiritual masters in different areas come from all sorts of people in your life. It's not just spiritual teachers. It's not that that are called themselves spiritual teachers. It's not a guru necessarily. It's not going to a spiritual center and the teachers there or the leaders there. I mean, granted, those people may be spiritual masters, but and then they may not be, but the issue is that I think that one of the questions that I had in my mind is that I was working in a particular area, in my life, and I felt like I had outgrown my previous teacher, and and I sort of didn't have one there for a while, and so then I'm like, and then when I try to get a new teacher, that didn't happen, and then I'm like, why? Why? I feel like I'm, ready to work on some, this further, deeper. I felt like I'd really learned a lot and that I'd grown, and it's like, they always say when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And so I'm like, but I don't have a teacher. And then, what I realized is that, the teacher had shown up. It's just that it wasn't in a spiritual center or retreat. It was, which turned out to be a very good friend of mine. So, and in essence, she is a spiritual master, and in the area of love, that she has mastered this area. And how did I come to know that is when I did her astrological birth chart. And so that I was like, oh, when I did her chart, you see, and I was like, wow. I said, you see, the teacher did come, and but it, like, again, it wasn't, in a spiritual center, isn't necessarily, a spiritual leader, but it's very advanced in consciousness, and so, and in the area of love and relationship, her chart is saying that she has a master in this area, and one of her things is to write about what is love. What is unconditional love? Is there technically even limits to unconditional love in this physical world? So what does love mean, and what does unconditional love mean and look like in this physical world? Because I think we all have ideas of what unconditional love is, or what we expect it to be, or what we would like it to be. But the reality of what really does it look like, and or in this physical world, in its most, I guess, represented and lived out in this physical world in its highest manifestation. So, and that's kind of what part of her purpose is. And so, so you see, the teacher did show up. And so that was kind of why I feel the tool is so important, because I probably would have known that, because I would have realized that her advice is very good and effective. So, but I really knew that because the chart indicated that. So I have also learned a lot in general about how the spiritual world works, or how in some ways the process of reincarnation works. And the fact that, and I want to make this little statement here, even this about charts, because I think as I've seen some people's recent charts, and then topics that get talked about today that I see on my Facebook page newsfeed, is that the issue of materialism, and whether materialism is good or bad, right? And so in some people's charts that I have done, they need to pursue materialism. they need to have a career, they need to make money, and they need to enjoy all the high quality, whether it be restaurants or events or food or experiences that are available here on this earth, in this world. And so, and that is part of the good karma that they have earned. And in fact, but these people will shun this wealth and they won't want to have it. In fact, they'll push it away. But why is it that this is something that they need to do in this lifetime, to live this life of luxury, and that if they pursue it, that they will be blessed with a great deal of wealth? Why? Why? Because some of these people have been like ascetics, monks, spiritual people who, in essence, followed the path. They said deny the body materialism, and they went to such extremes in doing that over many, 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 many lifetimes that they've merited the abundance. Okay. But in fact, these people, because they've lived so much in the shunning, wealth and the physical world, that they will find it very difficult to live in the lap of luxury. Isn't that difficult? And they'll have a really hard time with it. And it's not, and this doesn't come from the fact that they don't feel that they don't deserve it. It's just they came and lived in a doctrine of religious practice that said that materialism was bad, the body was bad, that you needed to negate all that, and they were ascetics. They stuck to it, and they stuck to the nth degree. But this isn't the point of life. The point of life is for everything to be in balance. And the point is to enjoy what it is here in this life, but at the same time, not in excess. And one of the things that I learned in one of my religious classes is that, one of the major premises is not to neither in excess nor in deficiency. And so that's the issue about materialism, neither in excess nor in deficiency. So you don't want to live without, in essence, negate the physical existence. Nor do you want to be attached and be materially, based on greed. Um, so basically, the source of creation created this amazing world for us to enjoy it. But at the same time, don't get attached to it, as the Buddha teaches, not to become attached. And so the issue is that, yes, enjoy the world. Yes, enjoy, the amazing, you could say perfumes and flowers and beautiful buildings and, clothing and, a lot of music and art and these types of things. The thing is to enjoy all these things in life. However, don't make it to not so much to the point where then it becomes your identity, where it becomes your value, that your value comes from these material goods, that you could both live with it and you could live without it, that you're not attached to these goods, and it doesn't define you who you are, nor does it make you a better or worse person than someone who has or does not have it, right? So either way, and I think that's really what the important thing is to learn, neither in deficiency nor in excess. So the answer isn't to deny, the enjoyment of this world, and but at the same time, not in excess, and don't get attached. It is not your worth. It doesn't make you a better person. That isn't where your worth comes from. you know and so that's kind of how I want people to sort of see why the astrological charts are really important, because I have done some recently that have indicated that there are people who have lived ascetic lifestyles for many lifetimes, and that now it's time for them to appreciate the body. To appreciate the body, food, and to enjoy the good things that this world has to offer. That's actually their area of growth and transformation, is to actually do that. Now, for others, you know, uh, which is probably um, how can I say? But for others, the issue is that we need to avoid greed and to attachment to the material goods. And then they do not define us. They do not make us who we are. It does not determine our worth. So so that could also be indicated in somebody's chart, that they're too excessively attached to material goods, to positions and titles. These things are of the ego. So so that's why it's really important to do the astrological birth chart, because you may be wondering, should I be, enjoying the good things in life, or do I need to stay far away from that? And that may not even be a central issue for you. You may already be in some sort of balance, So again, that may not even be, either one of those may not be your issue. So that's why it's important to do the chart. Because for some people, it's going to be that they need to, work on building relationships, spending more time with family, and actually family, not, it can look like groups, but it's really more about being part of a family. And they come to learn in this lifetime, what does it mean to be part of a family? Then there are people who come into this, lifetime to learn what is it to be an individual, because they've been excessively attached to the family and they've been excessively attached to groups. So they need to learn now how to be their own person and how to have their own identity and to spend time alone and to learn that their company all by itself is amazing. But there are people who are on the other, like I said, they need to learn about families. There are people who have been loners who need to learn to be part of a group, who need to learn to have relationships and the importance, of that. So, and then again, you may already be in balance in that area, and neither one of those, you're neither on either extreme of that particular characteristic. So that's why it's really important to do the chart, because it'll let you know where you need to focus your energy in this lifetime. And you can do past lives, you can do past life influences, like what main areas, like say jobs you had before, maybe some negative karma that needs to be cleared out in this lifetime, and again, areas that you need to focus on. And so it's really an important tool, and it's something that you need to get done and then keep the report and details with you, because you'll need to go back and go back and go back as you go through this process, because it's like layers. You work out a little bit at a time in this transformational process to grow in the process of growing your consciousness, and it's like a little bit at a time, layer by layer by layer by layer. And so when you're working on one area, the other piece of the chart just doesn't even stay in your mind. You don't even remember it said that. And then all of a sudden something's happening in your life and you're like, what's that about? And then you go read in your chart and it's in another area. It's probably because you sort of, probably addressed as much as you can in this area or corrected it. And now you can move on to another area. And so, because sometimes we have a lot of little things that we can correct. I guess you could say you could call them like low-hanging fruit, that you could make smaller corrections. It's less difficult, that you could to clear out and to correct, and that would help in the growth of and expansion of your consciousness. And those are like quick wins. And sometimes, oftentimes, the source of creation will present those to you, so we get motivated. Yay, I did that, and you feel good about it, and you're really motivated to continue down this path of the expansion of consciousness. And so so you might work on certain areas, and so as time goes on, you'll see it. And so and again, you work done in layers and layers, so you work a little bit at a time, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and so it'll give you some idea of what the areas you need to work on, and it's, like I said, good reference ongoing. So that being said, there are many people who do astrological birth charts. You could get some for free online at various different websites like Astromatrix and Cafe Astrology. You can also pay for some that that it's not, maybe, $5, $6, $8, to have reports created and sent to you. However, each inter-aspect has multiple possible explanations. And so that's where, so when reading your chart, like myself or another professional, astrologer, especially who does evolution astrology, and can really help you, who has an expertise in looking at all the different interrelations, and can give you a little bit more guidance as to what's going on, as well as to provide additional insight than what the reports that come out tell you. And I feel like sometimes, I personally have to look at, people look at their past life, look at the current, and then the current birth chart and past lives, and look at it all together in different aspects to kind of see what, what's connecting them all together. And that's where you really see the focus, and you really see the area that really needs to be, worked on. And yeah, so that it needs to be worked on. And so it really has to come together. You have to look at it all together. It may not just be completely self-evident just by, buying the natal chart report, but you'll get to see some of the placements in your chart, and can do some research on those, and the report will give you some really good information as well, so you get a really good feel. Again, it's a good reference to keep with you, so that you can continue to refer to that as you go down this path of the expansion of consciousness. And but again, you can also hire a professional astrologer who can do your chart for you and provide you with a lot of insights and provide you guidance, as well as some of the ways that you can address and deal with some of the energies that are in your chart. And I also think it's good if they help you as well, because both to understand the positive, you could say karma and aspects that are in the chart, as well as the ones where there are challenges. And so you might just focus on the negative and say, oh, this is what I did, or this is what this is what's going on with me, and I think it's also to help you also process the information, and give you some guidance as to next steps on how to I guess work on those particular areas, as well as if you have any questions that you would like to know about what's going on in your current life, and how that's reflected in the chart, and how you might want to deal with those, so they have an outcome that leads, like, to your higher or highest good. So you can email me at the email address below, and again, it's really easy to remember. It's called freedomoftheunconscious@gmail.com, and you can email me if you would like me to do your astrological birth chart. And in order to do that, I need the place and time of birth. That it would include city, state or province, and country. And need the time of birth as close as you can. If you don't know it specifically, if it was morning or evening, or the middle of the day, if there was any information that you might have that could at least put us in the right direction, that would also be helpful. Oftentimes it doesn't. I mean, it to be more accurate, and to be the most accurate, time of birth is really important. That we can still do the reading and still be quite effective, without it. But really, to get into finer details and nuances, it's important to have the time of birth. So again, it's the place and time of birth that is really important. So if you're interested, you can email me at freedomoftheunconscious@gmail.com, and we can set up a time to go over your information, and you can ask any questions at that time that you want to address, or especially over current issues that you have in your life. The other thing that can also be done is if you are in partnership, you can do like composite or synastry charts with your significant other to look at any relationship issues that you may be experiencing and would like to resolve, and so that's also helpful. And how can I say, if your partner would also like to have their chart done, it's best to do them separate, and then maybe if you both were interested, you could do the synastry together. So to kind of look at the relationship issues, and just kind of on that note as well, that relationships are one of the, or is the, either probably the best tool, let's say, that helps us to grow our consciousness. So all these conflicts in relationships are just pointing to areas of growth, So these are excellent opportunities to expand our consciousness in big ways. So it's important not to avoid them. So yeah, sometimes the relationships can be difficult, and again, that's where you want to look at the charts to say, there's a difference between a difficult relationship and issues that can be resolved, and there are issues that sometimes you just need to walk away. So I think that's kind of where the chart also gives you some indications as how deeply ingrained some of the patterns are, and maybe with your significant other, to see if there's resolution for that. So again, all those things can be discussed, but in the end, all you have to decide for yourself your course of action, both for your personal next steps, and if it's a relationship analysis that's done, then that's also, you need to follow what you feel is in your best interest. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to working with everyone on their journey, and I hope that you find these videos useful. And again, this is sort of like the intro into I guess it partly is the book, but also down this process of the expansion of consciousness. And so that's why I kind of wanted to mention the astrological birth chart, because it is really a very important tool in this process, because I personally feel like I could not have I guess I feel like gone as quickly maybe through the process without it. It just provided just insight into what was going on in myself and in my relationships with other people of all types, and then I just learned about people, again, doing their birth charts for them. I've learned a lot about people in karma, and as I mentioned before, I have recently done some, where people do need to enjoy the good life, and that because they have denied themselves so excessively of that in the past. And again, everything is about balance, and it is about the middle way, and it is to live neither in excess or deficiency. And 9 times out of 10, we've gotten out of balance. Why? Because, as I mentioned in my intro video, is that we all sort of got this negative, I would say negative, but this seeding, initial programming, or klipat as it's called in Kabbalah, but this sort of our whole personality, and it guided our life experience, and then formed our perspective and experience in life, and that is what causes us, after many lifetimes, to become out of balance. And so this is the astrological birth chart, is to identify those imbalances and to address them, to bring yourself and your life back into balance. And with that comes the expansion of consciousness and a much happier and more, fulfilling life, in, I guess, in its entirety, So I wish everybody a great day or a great night, depending on when they watch this. And I look forward to interacting with everyone in the future. And thank you for watching my video. Thank you. Good night.